Hey guys, welcome to a new tutorial. Today we're going to be painting these sort of vintage inspired florals. So grab your paint and your paper and your brushes and we'll get started. Everything you need will be linked below. So we're going to start with a flat wash background. If you want to learn how to do this, definitely sign up for my watercolor workshop because we go over how to make a nice, smooth, single color, flat backdrop. This one I kind of messed up on. I got a little bit of oily fingers on here, so I'm just going to cover this up with what we're doing today. So let's get started. I'm going to kind of stick to one color palette here. Since I have kind of a blue-gray background, I'm going to make my flowers a darker blue color. So I'm going to use this Cotman watercolor paint in indigo. Put a little bit of this in my pan. I'm going to use my number 12 brush for this. This is one of my favorite brushes. It's a silver black velvet brush. I'm going to link everything below in the description box so that you can get your hands on the things that I prefer to use. I'm just going to add a little bit of water to this. I don't want this to be too watery. I still want to keep that nice concentrated paint color. I think that's good. So I'm just going to start by, I'm just going to cover up this little splotch here that I've made by mistake. So I'm just going to start by creating a circle. This doesn't have to be a perfect circle. We're going to make these flowers a little bit simplified and kind of retro looking. And I might add another one, maybe over on this splotch. Paint in where you want your flowers to go. And I always like doing groups of 3s just because I think it looks better, so I'll add another one. Maybe I'll add a smaller one right about here. I'm going to let these dry before we do another layer on top. So in the meantime, I'm going to add a couple little leaves and flourishes. So I'm going to use my number 2 watercolor brush. This is a Princeton Round. It's a synthetic brush, but it's really nice. It holds water really well. I'm going to grab a green. I'm going to use Hooker's Dark Green here. This is the Winsor Newton Cotman collection once again. And because this is pretty green, I'm actually going to mix it in with the blue a little bit to make it a little more blue-green. And then I'm going to add a little bit of burnt umber just to make it more of a foresty green kind of color. I think I'm actually going to add a little bit of yellow as well. I'm just adding little tiny drops of paint to my palette. I always use my colors in moderation. So I'll add a little burnt umber to that and then a little bit of yellow. Sort of make a more toned down yellow-green color. And without much water on the paint, I'm gonna kind of do this dry, as a dry wash. So I'm just going to add a couple little flourishes to my first flower. I'm just gonna start by painting a thin line. And I'm going to go in and add some leaves. So there's one type of leaf that you can do. I haven't connected the leaves on the bottom ones here. I just kind of like that look a lot better. But you can really paint these however you want to. I'm gonna add a little bit more yellow. Make this one slightly different toned. I'm just going to do maybe another one down here. So I always start by adding the stem line and then kind of deciding how I want the leaves to look afterwards. For a little interest, I'm gonna add a couple little dots in that same indigo blue. This will just help fill in some of the white space as well. I've got to say, for those of you who are in my watercolor workshop, I've been loving watching what you guys have been doing and how you're progressing. I love checking out your posts in the Facebook group. I just think it's so cool to see you guys actually taking in what you're learning and applying it. It's so cool. Now I'm just moving on to this next flower. Just doing the same thing. I'm just adding these leaves sort of wherever I want to. If you are interested in learning so much more, a bunch of different techniques and tools that I use, and just all different things that you're not going to learn on this YouTube channel, I'm going to put the link to my watercolor workshop below, and you guys can definitely check that out, because I would love to have you there and just kind of expand on what you've learned on my YouTube channel. It's a lifetime membership, which means I add new videos there all the time, so it's not just like a one-time kind of course that ends. It's actually something that continues, and you pay a one-time fee and you just continuously will get new videos, premium content videos that are not available here. I'm changing direction of them as I go just to add a little interest. If they all kind of face the same direction, it wouldn't really look too realistic, or even though it's not a realistic painting, but it just looks better. I'm just adding a few more dots now. There's so many different kinds of leaves that you can try. You definitely don't have to do these ones. Just experiment and kind of play around. They don't have to be realistic at all. Just kind of do what you feel. You know what leaf shapes look like, so just try to mimic that. I think for now, that's good. I don't want to go too overboard with everything. So I'm just going to let this dry, and then I'll come back and I'll do the extra layers on the flowers. With the flowers dry, I'm going to grab a smaller brush. I'm going to use this number 5 Da Vinci brush. I'll put a link to it below as well. I'm going to grab a little bit of water. I'm going to go back into that indigo color. But this time, I'm not going to make it as watery as the last time. I want this more concentrated for sure. And then I'm just going to sort of loosely kind of paint in a top layer here. So I'm just gonna sort of do a rough circle on top of the circle, like so, just leaving a little bit of the edging showing. And then we're gonna do a bit of detail on the leaves. So I'm gonna jump back over to my number 2 brush. I'm gonna mix up a darker color for some of these leaves and then a lighter color for other ones. So on the lighter colored leaves, I'm just gonna add sort of this indigo mixed with green color. And I'm just gonna add a few details. So right here, I'm just doing 3 lines up the stem of the leaves. 2 there, 2 there. So just adding in some detail that it did not have before. All the lighter ones. Just do this with the darker color. And when these flowers are dry, I'm just going to add a little bit more detail and then we'll be finished. Alright, so with these dry, wet my brush a little. I'm still using the number 2 brush. I'm going to grab some yellow with not a lot of water. I'm just going to add in a couple circles just to show the center of the flower. So that's the tutorial for today. I would love to see your guys' work, so please, if you upload something to Instagram, if you've tried this, tag me. My handle is @wonderforest. So stay tuned for just a minute because I want to show you guys some of the work that the watercolor workshop members have been completing, and I'll give you all of the details on that in case you want to jump in as well and learn a little bit more. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and I will see you next time.